If you're out in the field and you need to make a repair, there are several options available just by using a needle and thread. Darning is a way to join two ripped areas together, but take care with lighter fabrics as the stitches may pull through the fabric unless you leave enough between the rip and the repair thread. Most times in these cases, a patch repair using tape would be a better option. If you need to stitch a down or synthetically insulated jacket because you've got no other choice, make sure you only stitch through a single layer. This could be the outer or the inner, depending on where the rip or tear is. Doing it this way will make a professional repair in our service centre a lot easier and cheaper for you, if you choose to send it back to us after your trip. So, to darn an area, you can follow these simple steps. Start by making sure you've got enough thread on your needle. Too short and the repair will be tricky. And you can always trim down a longer piece if needed. Insert your needle about 5mm beyond where the rip starts and 5mm down below the bottom of the rip. Bring the needle up about 5mm past the top of the rip, leaving a small tail of thread showing on the outside. Cross this tail end of thread over and hold in place with your thumb. Then repeat the stitch, starting to encapsulate the tail end of thread in your stitching. To make this extra secure, you can thread your needle through a loop you've created as you are stitching. This will form a small knot holding the stitching in place. Continue the process of wrapping the tail end of thread into your darning, and you should start to see the fabric pinch together and overlap, closing the hole. Once you get to the end of the hole, start to double back on yourself, overlapping the stitching that you've just done. Try not to make this too close to the other stitching on fine fabrics, as this could weaken the area. At the end of the repair, replicate the process of knotting you did at the start. Snip the excess tail once it's about 1 cm inside your stitching. If you're repairing a waterproof shell, it's important to seam seal over the new stitching to keep the area waterproof. Apply enough to cover the stitching and about 5mm around the area. To repair a seam, a backstitch or running stitch is always a good option. A backstitch is stronger and better for areas which may come under tension. So to backstitch, follow these simple steps. Take your needle and thread and look at where you want to start the repair. Start your stitching about 1 cm before the seam has come undone. If this is on a hem, like here, where the stitching doesn't go through to the outer fabric, make sure you only sew the layers you need to reconnect. To hide the tail end of the thread, pull this through just enough so it stops before it disappears into the fabric. Then, where your needle has exited the fabric, go back through a tiny amount of the top fabric to form a loop of thread. Then place your needle back through at this point and bring it up about 5mm further along the seam to be repaired. Repeat this process of backstitching along the seam. At the end of the repair, replicate the process of knotting that you did at the start. And then thread the excess back into the garment to hide the raw tail end. Tutorials are always useful, but don't forget, if in doubt, we can offer you a professional repair at our service centre, which is always here to help keep your garments going for as long as possible.